Right, hello to the world out there. We are live on YouTube, the Motion Heart Facebook page, and the OMD Fan Facebook group. I'm just going to give it a minute just to try and get a bit of an audience and see whether everything's working. So, and then we'll go and fire in, and you can tell me whether I'm to call you Jezzer or Jeremy, but we'll hold on to that for a minute. So just bear with me a moment, and let's see how we're going. Right, so I'm not too sure if anybody's with us or not, but we are, and I've got a quick hello from Chris Inns. So we've definitely got somebody over on Facebook watching. Hi, Chris, great to have
Hello.
you with us, and anybody else. So, do an
It's great to
introduction.
be here.
Yeah, do an introduction. Let us know what I'm to call you because I'm very confused. A little bit about yourself and where you're from, and over to you.
Right, you can call me Jezzer. Um, I'm originally from West London, but I live in Berkshire now, and I work for a communications company, and I've been an OMD fan for 31 years. I became a fan when they split up, the original band. I heard Joan of Arc on the radio one Saturday morning, and in the back of my mind, I remember it. And I went out and bought the best of OMD, and the rest is history.
Remarkable. Quick hello to Sandra. I think that's Sandra, my wife, over on Facebook. Hello, Sandra. Don't worry, I'll give you a call in a minute and we'll share my news what I had today at some stage. So, on that first listen to OMD, you said like 31 years.
Yeah,
So, where did you hear them? Was it a track on the radio? Were you in a pub, a club, or where did you actually hear that very first nugget?
I think I heard it on Radio 1. I was getting ready for work Saturday morning, and I heard this song. And in the back of my mind, I remember it from years ago, because I'm a huge David Bowie fan. And in the late 80s, he was going through like a midlife crisis, and I wasn't really into his heavy rock. And then OMD came on the radio, and I was hooked. It's the melody. They're a sucker for melodies, OMD.
So just a quick hello to Robert. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Robert.
Yeah, Robert's always about. There is you probably can't see it on your phone. There is a chat button you can click and you can see any comments that are coming up. But yeah, Robert's always about. And thanks for the last cup of coffee you sent to me, Robert. I got a pint and not a coffee. So yeah, Jez, I spotted you were a big OMD fan. Did you get to hear or see the OMD cover of the Bowie track that they did recently, Heroes?
Yes, I saw that. Yes, they did a very good job of that. Yeah. And I also love their version of Hall Again, which of course Andy McCluskey wrote, didn't he? He co-wrote Hall Again, but I like OMD's version of it.
So Whole
Um,
Again and the Atomic Kitten first album, if you sort of obviously listen to it, it really is a bit of an OMD album.
it is, yeah.
So obviously the problem that we had sort of back in the day was the record industry was changing, and obviously OMD weren't getting any basically any radio play.
No,
Um, and after Universal, the album Universal, obviously Andy just got a bit pissed off with it all, dissolved, got rid of OMD, and he was advised to start a girl band, and obviously the rest of that is history. Did you actually
Didn't
listen to?
Carl Bartos advise him to start it, wasn't it? Was it
Yeah,
Carl Bartos from Kraftwerk?
yeah, that's it.
Because
Well
I've seen
done.
your video.
Y- Yeah. So yeah. So basically, uh, back in those days, we were going through a girl band and a boy band thing.
Yeah.
Um, there was another band Andy started before Atomic Kitten. Was it
Oh, the
Queenie
Genie
Queen?
Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then after that came obviously the girls, and I mean I was quite lucky at that point in time to sort of watch this being nurtured from an idea to giggling girls to fucking hell, it could go in the charts, and
Yeah.
Andy stuck at that all the way through, and the Atomic Kitten were being dropped at one stage. So yeah, Andy McCluskey got to number one, but not on his, but not
Yes.
with his name.
And see, I'm a big fan of the 90s output as well from OMD.
Yeah.
I
uh,
think, those three albums, I think Sugar Tax is the best. But I also love Liberator. And everyone seems to hate that for some.
So Liberator is sorry, I'm being joined by my dog. Hello. Liberator's a very interesting album because it
That's
was
a cute dog there.
I'm living in a caravan at the moment. I'm a campsite warden for my sins, and yeah,
Oh, right.
yeah. So Liberator, yeah, Liberator was written, produced, and ready incredibly quickly, and it was quite a raw album. And basically, Andy said this is it's too quick, and they went back and remastered it and reproduced it. And there is another version of Liberator about, which
Oh,
maybe
right.
you never know. One day it may reappear. I will be doing an interview at some stage with Phil Coxon.
I Phil
Um,
Coxon, yeah.
yeah, so obviously I'm still in touch with Phil Coxon. And
Nigel.
yeah, and Nigel. Yeah, so we did do. There is an interview about that I did with Nigel a couple of years ago in Bristol. So
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So still in touch with Nigel. But yeah, yeah. So Liberator is a very Marmite. So many fans absolutely don't like it. Sugar Tax is
Yes.
amazing.
No, I love Liberator. Love it. I mean, King of Stone is a fantastic piece of songwriting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my personal favorite on that album is Christine. I think it's such a
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it conjures up
Mm.
all the images, and there's a lot of references to prostitutes in that song,
Yeah.
and girls and things. But yeah, and then obviously Liberator came along, and it's the first album and the only album really that OMD produced where they never did a tour, and I absolutely adore Universal. I think Universal for me is right up there. But sadly, a lot
Ah,
of fans don't like it.
that is a cracking album as well. What's your favourite track off Universal? Mine's The Black Sea.
Sorry, quick hello to Paul over on Facebook. Hi, Paul. Yeah, we're okay. So say hello to Jezzer. My
Hello,
best track
Paul.
on Universal. Oh, maybe Too Late. Uh,
Yeah.
and funny enough, you possibly don't know this, but back when internet forums were going rather than before Facebook, there is an OMD forum still going, and the website's on theblacksea.co.uk, my site. So I
Oh,
actually
right.
named a website after that track.
Ah,
Got another message, but it's not on this chat. Um, so when you bought the best of, that sort of gave you the sort of the back catalogue. What was the first sort of album you went out and bought at that point of time?
it was, fun enough, it was Junk Culture. Yeah. I didn't buy them in any order. So when I bought the best of OMD, I played that to death. And my brother's probably got sick of it, sick of hearing it. So I went out and bought Junk Culture. That's an amazing album. Played that to death. Bought Q magazine in late 1990, and they used to have a section called Studio Spy, and it said OMD were making an album. And I was, I thought, great. They didn't stay split up for long. And of course, 91 came, and what comeback that was.
So you weren't part of well, we call them the sort of dark. Well, you were sort of part of that dark period, because we obviously had these 3 albums, and then the OMD sort of disappeared. Some of us obviously still kept the fan base going and things like this. And here we are with OMD back. So on the new albums, have you enjoyed sort of Punishment of Luxury, History of Modern, English Electric?
Punishment of Luxury I keep going back to. And History of Modern. English Electric's a bit, it's okay. I thought it was a bit, I don't know. History of Modern and Punishment of Luxury are my 2 favourites.
Now here you go. Stuff. Out of all the OMD albums, every album, History of Modern is my bottom of the list. Isn't that bizarre?
No. All right. I just thought it was a great comeback album, History of Modern. And in the 80s, when I started listening to their back catalogue, I think Junk Culture was the best one. And followed by the Pacific Age for me, personally. I know everyone loves Architecture Morality, but Junk Culture and Pacific Age are my 2 favourites.
So as you were a fan from the 90s and then sort of rediscovering OMD's back catalogue,
you've
obviously ended up somewhere along the line purchasing Dazzle Ships. What were your initial thoughts on Dazzle Ships when you first heard it?
Weird. Well, again, there's some good tracks on that. I mean, Radio Waves is brilliant. Telegraph is good as well.
Yeah. It's quite bizarre because, the OMD fan base, that we're used to, the Joan of Arc, the Maid of Orleans, the Souvenirs, these lush sort of songs, very much pop songs. Obviously, they were submerged into the release of Genetic Engineering and boom, bang, bing, bong, bang.
Yes.
And they just went, fucking no, press the stop button. And, if you think about it, listening to Genetic Engineering, if you were a big fan of Maid of Orleans, I was quite,
yes, definitely.
So far apart, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, that's what I like about OMD, because all 13 of their albums don't sound the same. They sound completely different to each other.
Yeah, it's I mean, the most amazing thing, even now, there is a new album will be released or should be released towards the end of next year, and the most amazing thing is the band have rediscovered themselves and constantly reinvented themselves, and haven't been too scared, especially in recent times, because the pressure's off, is to experiment a little bit, isn't it?
That's right. And can I ask you, what did you think of Paul Humphreys' band The Listening Pool? Did you buy the album Still Life? What did you make of that?
So hello, Jackie out there on YouTube.
Hi, Jackie.
Yeah, so she's there. So this is all a bit strange. So I was involved with the OMD Information Service back in the day. That was run by Jan and Mike Humphreys, Paul's brother. so was quite privy to what was going on. And we actually, I don't know what ever happened to the photographs. I've been married and divorced a couple of times, and along the way I've lost so much things. But we actually put on the listening pool launch party at
All right.
a hotel in the Wirral. I can't remember the name of it. So yeah, quite involved with that. So yeah, very different again. But I like still life. It's not like OMD. It's a lot more
No,
laid back.
no. I I thought oil for the lamps of China should have been a big hit. Personally, I thought that was a great song.
Yeah, again, we were, when this was released, the records industry was going through such change. The main outlet for singles was Woolworths back in them days. Unless
That's
you could
right.
get
Yeah,
unless you could
yeah.
get that single into Woolworths, you were going to have minimal success. But the main thing is that they actually did it. I know Mally is very proud of that period.
Right.
I was in touch with Mally a handful of weeks ago, and I'm hoping to be doing a live interview with him at some stage. But keep that to yourself for now. Um,
Is he
but
getting better now? Is he all right now?
yeah. No. Obviously, what happened in Canada was
Mm.
more awful. Absolutely dreadful. But yeah, everything considered, he's back to his former self.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
So how I'm going to ask a question now, because obviously back in these early 90s, so the internet was
Yeah,
about, obviously the likes of Facebook weren't about, um, and then there were a number, as I say, of forums, and I think my website was the second OMD fan website. How did you get to hear about the listening pool? How did you hear about that?
I can't remember. To tell you the truth. God, I can't remember.
Because if you think about it, unless you were actually on the OMD Information Service, or you were on one of these, and again at the time they were quite pioneering websites,
Yeah,
So I'm just wondering, were you a member of the Information Service?
I must have been. Yeah, because it came out in '93, was it? In '93.
Yeah,
God.
it'll be something like that. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
must have been a member. Yeah. God, I can't remember.
No, well, again, I'll share some secrets again that people don't know. So the Information Service. So I used to have a photographic business. So I live in Manchester, and Jan was over just outside Heswall on the Wirral, and we would
Right.
sometimes go and get a master copy of the hand typed Information Service newsletter and run it back to Manchester, where I photocopied it. And you do several hundred of these on a photocopier, then drive them back to the Wirral, where they were all basically put in an envelope and a stamp stuck on them.
Oh my God.
You know, but I'm guessing many of the fan clubs or other information services for things were run that way. And yeah,
Yeah.
and we even had we even communicated via fax on some things. It was, yeah, quite something, isn't it?
It is. Technology come a long way.
Yeah, yeah, but if you think about it, Jezzer, isn't it amazing? You're able to do something like this, which was, it was science fiction back in the
Yeah.
day. So
Mm.
just another quick hello from was it Montreal? Carell, I hope I've said your name right, Carell. So Jezza, give Carell a big wave.
Hello, Corral.
So so she's over on YouTube, I do believe. Yeah, so isn't it, amazing? But also likewise with OMD, the days of putting things onto hard drives and physically
Mm.
posting them, and you can just send anything via the internet now, and how much life has changed in such a big way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, it's brilliant now.
So
And
let's fire a question to you. So you asked me a question before about what's my favorite track. So what's your worst OMD album? What, down at that bottom three, we'll put it. What would you
bottom three,
Yeah, what's down there at the bottom? Which albums don't you particularly like?
Crush.
Crush.
Crush. I don't know. I mean, that's the only album I couldn't really get into. Everything else, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad album. I mean, La Femme Accident is one of my favourites off that.
yeah, it's quite it's quite a mixed up album to some extent, and again, I don't know whether Andy chooses French names that people can't pronounce, so you've absolutely got the pronunciation completely right there. And it's made of Orléans. Orléans is a place in France,
Orleans.
not Orleans. Uh, and something else I'll share with you, which I've picked up on in the last 24 hours, is I've put 2 BBC interviews up that have been done by Andy recently, and
Oh, right.
the BBC must be using the same script. In other words, they've got the notes, okay, and
Yeah.
what the OMD's background. And on both interviews, the final comments refer to the album of architecture and more. And
Oh,
whoever's written
God.
the notes have spelled morality more. If you listen to the end of both interviews, yeah,
Yeah.
the BBC are doing these interviews, and they're obviously using the same notes or script of the questions to ask. And the first one, I thought, okay, it's a mistake, somebody
Mm.
just, But the interview that was done, I think I put it up last night. Yeah, architecture and more.
Oh, God.
Yeah, let's listen out for that. So,
God.
yeah, Carell says hello to you personally. You got a little shout out there to you. So there you are. You got yourself a fan.
No, that's nice. Thank you. What else? Yeah, I've seen your videos you did at the Pink Museum when you interviewed Andy McCluskey. They were very good. Very good.
Yeah, I've been privileged, as I say, over the years, to have a good relationship on that side. Yeah, so I photographed a number of photo sessions with
Right.
Andy and interviews, and um, I've not done one for a handful of years now, but we used to put on quite regular OMD fan parties, and
Yeah.
yeah, we've had a number of those where we've taken people on mystery tours, because unless you know where the Pink Museum is, you don't know where it is, if that makes any sense. So we've
Right.
done a couple of ones where we've taken people off in a bit like the Beatles mystery tour, basically in a coach, and said we've got an OMD landmark, and then we're taking them down to this back door to this building, open the door, and then there's Andy. So yeah, we've done that a few times.
Ah. Does he still own that Pink Museum? Does
No, so
he?
that's somewhere else now. So Andy's actually got his own studio in his house.
Right.
He's got a lovely. I won't name what the name of it is. I'll describe it. But he's got a lovely big house in some amazing grounds, still on the Wirral.
Right.
Um, yeah, and he's got a recording studio upstairs in his house.
Oh, right.
But
Because
again,
Paul lives in London, doesn't he? Does Paul
so
Humphreys live in London?
Paul's is in France.
Oh, he's in
Um,
France.
yeah, so obviously he sort of remarried and then
He's
became
got a baby, isn't he?
a baby at
He's,
age 61. I
I
just
know.
um not the whole thought of becoming a father. I'm coming up to 60, and I just became a granddad a few months ago, and the whole
Oh,
thought of becoming
congratulations.
the whole thought about becoming a father at 60, let alone
I
64,
know.
just petrifies me. I just need to go to sleep. It just wears me out thinking about it.
Oh dear.
but hey ho. So Jezzer, so the other quick thing. So you've obviously picked up my request for fans to come in and do an interview. So you picked this up on YouTube. Did you find
Yeah.
my channel? Was that just randomly you managed to find it?
Say that again, sorry.
Yeah. So how did you find my YouTube channel? Were you just on YouTube just searching for OMD videos, and that's how you came across them?
I've been watching your videos for
Okay, and then up to a handful of days ago, you were a bit of a Facebook newbie and things like that. But now you're actually proper part of the OMD community, aren't you?
Oh yes. Yes. Yes, now I've become a proper OMD. Because I usually stay in the background, you see.
Yeah, the public forums, whether that's Facebook or whatever, they can be interesting at times, and
Yeah.
yeah, some fans can be very possessive about certain albums and very possessive about certain songs, and if you dare say I don't like blah blah, you'll get shouted down, and
Oh god.
yeah, but I think it'll be. I'm not on any other David Bowie. I'm a bit of a fan of David Bowie myself. But I'm not on any of the David Bowie Facebook groups, but it's the same on every group. Basically, you end up with these
Yeah.
people very passionate about things. So,
Yeah.
are you seeing them in November?
No.
You're not going to see them
I,
live in November.
no. I actually went through a phase of scared of crowds, if you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. I
Nothing
have
wrong with
seen
that.
OMD live.
Yeah.
I saw them on the Punishment of Luxury tour at the Hexagon in Reading.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. And I've actually seen Andy's OMD and the original OMD
Yeah.
when they got back together in 2007.
So when you did the Andes OMD, so the Liberator, Sugar
And
Tax,
Sugar
University,
Tax.
where did you go and see them then? Can you remember the venue?
Yes, in '91 on the Sugar Tax tour, I saw them at Hammersmith Odeon
Okay, yeah, I was there. I
and at Wembley Arena in the autumn.
Yeah, I photographed. So I've got a photo gallery. So I photographed that one.
Oh right.
So if you delve into my OMD website, which is a real mess, I photographed Wembley. Um,
Oh
yeah, it was an interesting evening that evening. I left the concert early. Somebody that I was with, a friend of somebody that I was with, was absolutely intoxicated beyond belief.
oh God.
To the extreme. We'd been drinking all day, and
Yeah.
I think it got to the end, and it was about 10 minutes before, and she was going to be violently sick and ill, and we had to
Oh
make a
no.
sharp exit. And yeah, I had to go and get my camera gear that was being held by security, and oh
Uh,
an experience. But yeah, I've got some cracking photographs from that gig.
oh right.
Did did
And
you
did
watch
you?
the did you watch the You Me and OMD live stream a few months ago? Did you?
Um, I don't think. No, I didn't actually.
No, because people like yourself, but and I really get who don't want to be in a crowd.
Yeah.
Obviously they did this gig in London. There was people in the audience, obviously social distant, but they actually
Right.
streamed live streamed, and it's coming out on DVD, I believe. But it
Oh right.
worked really, really, really well, and thousands of people around the world were all watching it live, and to some extent, it's a bit of a way forward that if you can't get to that gig because you
Yeah.
don't like crowds, you can't get tickets, you're working. You know, I think in years to come, I think, you know, that'll become quite a norm.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. But you know, at the Wembley gig, was it the Liberator tour? Were you there? Did you see Gary Newman?
Yeah, photograph Gary Newman. Yeah, I've got again. You know something? I don't know whether I've actually made those Gary Newman photographs live or not. So I weird experience. I'll tell you a little bit about Gary Newman. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, Jackie. Yeah, agree. You, me, and OMD was amazing. So I was a massive Newmanoid back in the day. I mean,
All right.
a serious Newmanoid in you would not believe in such a big way. Absolutely adored Gary Newman and Tubeway Army. And there was an album called Dance that came out.
Dance,
And
yeah.
yeah, and everything changed after that. And I thought my interest in Newman sort of withered away. Um, but I got to meet Gary a couple of times.
Oh, wow.
And one thing that got me was how little he was. And I've got no idea. You know, he's not particularly tall. I don't know what his height is, but I thought he was like 6'6" or something.
Right.
Um, and then actually, you know, sort of after a gig back at hotels, to actually sort of meet him and have a chat. Um, yeah, he was just physically a lot smaller than I was like, hang on a moment, you know. And again, I must find these photographs. I must find these photographs and put them out. And then I've got these photographs I did of him, and his eyes are so piercing when he looks at you. You know, he's got these
Yeah.
absolute piercing eyes when and I'm photographing him. He's sort of like scaring me. Yeah. But no, I was up to the album Dance. You know, I was a serious Gary Newman fan. I mean, in a really big way. I think, yeah, Gary Newman was probably the first musician that really influenced me when I was younger. And obviously that's in turn how I got to see OMD. You know, so
Oh, right, yeah.
Mansion Apollo. We'd heard of OMD, and I'd heard a couple of tracks with John Peel that had been played, sort of in the middle of the
Yeah.
night music. You know, it's been hard to explain this, isn't it? So back in the day, but back in the day, you'd have your radio on very late at night, very quiet, listening to it, and then obviously Andy and Paul with Winston sort of come on, and just two guys with no lighting, no nothing, just created such a lush, beautiful sound.
Mm,
Yeah, and then obviously my journey from OMD was created on that night and in that way.
God.
So are you a Newman fan at all?
Yes. I do
Yeah,
like his latest stuff, I have to admit. Mm.
yeah. So I've got I can't remember the last two albums.
Um, Savage and
Yeah, the Savage was one before Savage.
Splinter.
Splinter. Yes, and yeah, it they're okay. I get it, and I know where Gary's gone in his musical career. He's got a massive, fantastic following of his dark, more rocky music than the synth music. You know, that's the path he's
Yeah.
gone down, um, and yeah, they're okay. But that's Gary Newman's evolution. I suppose it's a bit like I don't know, somebody listening to Organisation by OMD and then listening to Liberator. You
Yes.
can understand why people lose track.
I was see. I was in the '90s. I was hoping OMD were going to go down the sort of techno route, but
The
they
Agnes.
stuck to their pop.
So obviously, what was the closest they got to that? Would you call it Agnes Day?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So did you get to hear some of the mixes that Phil Coxon did for the American Billboard charts? Did you? get to
Oh,
hear any of
the 10-minute remix.
because this is a real shame because the American market was very different to the UK market back then, and so sort of Phil's checkoff list, if you like, was to create this more danceable OMD, and
Yeah,
but it was sort of cringeworthy for us on this side of the pond, you know, and you know, it was a lot of fans just completely blame Phil Coxon for many things. And as I say, I will be doing a live interview with Phil. This has been on the card for 3 years.
oh, right.
To do something with Phil, and yeah, so one day I'll let Phil tell the story. I won't go into it. It's his stories to tell. But it was interesting, you know, that his brief was to write mixes for the American Billboard charts, not for the UK top of the pop
Right.
charts.
Did he do because I've got the American import of Stand Above Me.
Mm-hmm.
It's got Raving on the Seven Seas. Did he do that?
So I may stand corrected, but I would almost certainly say so. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
right. That's quite a good mix, actually.
So there was back in those days, those 90s days, especially with Sailing on the Seven Seas, I don't know how many mixes there are. There must be
Ugh,
several, if not more. There's loads of them.
there is. But I remember going out and buying. I was still at school when that came out. I remember going out buying the 12-inch on March the 18th. It came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the day, and I thought the remix sounded nothing like the original. It was really good remix, I thought. Yeah.
So this is this is really good because again, back in those days before the internet,
Yes.
one of the reasons you went and bought the OMD, if you were a fan of OMD, one of the reasons you bought the single wasn't for the single because you'd already have that on
No.
the album, but you bought it for those remixes or those B-sides, and
B-sides, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and those recreations and B-sides from the 90s, some beautiful B-sides
Oh,
were
yeah.
created.
Um, Burning is one of my favourites.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know Can You Believe Me?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Again,
Um,
I think it was Take Me to the Place You Fear the Most. Was that?
oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you know, yeah, adorable B-side. So Burning. Yeah, there's another story of a night out with that. We'd done an OMD event. I can't remember how this happened. I can't remember how this happened. And we'd had this party on the Saturday, and then we'd continued on to the Sunday. We must have gone to Liverpool or something. We ended up basically in a pub, but it had like a DJ
Right.
set going.
Yeah.
And somebody went to ask for some OMD, and obviously, you know, Enola Gay would get put on. You know, I hate Enola
Mm.
Gay. I'm sick of Enola Gay. But you'd expect, but the DJ put on Burning, you know, and then, you know, there was 40 fans, 40 of us just bouncing around to Burning, and then everybody in this pub going, "What the fuck is this? What are they dancing to?" Because they'd never heard it before.
Yeah, Burning is a great techno track, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, it's yeah, the semi-forgotten B-sides, yeah, to some extent, isn't it?
yeah, and I also remember during the Sugar Tax promotion, he was on Capital Radio and they played Locomotion and all the hits, but they played Sugar Tax. You know, the title track, Sugar Tax. And I remember him saying it's not on the album just to make things difficult. And that's one of my favourite songs, Sugar Tax.
So um again, I've got a little bit of a story behind sugar tax as well. So when that was released, there was muting of a sugar tax coming into effect, which we've got now. But this is way back
That's
in the
right,
day
yeah.
that it was being spoken about 30 odd years ago. And for my sins, I used to be a counsellor,
All
and
right.
we had a debate about fluoride in water and
Yeah.
whether it should be mass medicated, basically. So in the reservoirs, and I'm dead against anything like that. But we had um, a, well, it was not a doctor, a scientist. He must have been a scientist. So we're in this theatre, and I'm on the panel against, and then we had a panel for. And this scientist was the guy who'd come up with the idea of doing a sugar tax.
All
And
right.
at the end of it, we were all, we were backstage and all the rest of it. So we had this big debate. And I said, a song called Sugar Tax with your stupid idea has been written by a band, and he never knew it. And I actually got to meet this guy who was this like government sort of advisor, scientist, who come up with this idea about a sugar tax. And lo and behold, Iron Brew doesn't have sugar in it anymore.
God. That's great.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
find myself in some strange old places.
Yeah.
So coming on to sort of singles.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been 40 years of OMD, and they've released 40 singles.
Mm.
And obviously, some of those singles, you were probably, you were too young to appreciate them back in the day. But going on that back catalogue, those single releases, do you have a favourite single that they released?
Um, from the 80s, Talking Loud and Clear,
Mm-hmm.
If You Leave,
Oh, okay.
which I'm still flabbergasted it was never a hit in this country, but there you go. Uh, um, I like Telegraph as
Yeah,
well.
Telegraph's fantastic.
Yeah. Um, of course, from the 90s, Sailing on the Seven Seas, um, Pandora's Box. I mean, Walking on the Milky Way, that was a brilliant song.
Walking on the
Brilliant.
Milky Way was the song that ended OMD's career, or Andy's career,
I
after
know, it's
the,
such a shame.
it had everything going for
Yeah,
it. But again, you possibly don't know this story. So when OMD's Walking on the Milky Way was released, there was another band called, was it OMJ?
uh,
They had, I can't remember whether they had the number one hit at the same period.
right.
And there was confusion between I'm sure it was OMJ. Was it
Was it
so bizarre?
OMC?
No, so bizarre. How bizarre?
Oh yeah,
How
how bizarre. OMC.
OMC. That's the one. OMC.
Yeah.
That's it. How bizarre. So there was confusion at Woolworths with
No.
OMC and OMD. Um, and we think some people who had heard OMD on the radio, Walking on the Milky Way, went out and bought OMC because that must have had
Yeah.
a higher profile. Obviously, got home, didn't. It's a wrong single, but didn't go back and repurchase. But that was every ingredient to be a hit.
Oh yeah.
And Andy doesn't play it live. That he still does play it, and that must be quite strange for sort of Mally and Paul to be doing something that was written without them. But
Mm.
it's a shame that's not really on the on the live list too much.
Yeah, it's really sad. Sad what happened.
Yeah, just a
But
quick message from, who's this now? Paul Hughes on Facebook. What's it? But OMD do well at the Let's Rock Festival. I think Andy should be called Henry. Oh, Henry, he sucks in the crowd. Got it? Sorry, Andy, I got the joke. Henry the Hoover sucks in the crowd. Okay, it took a minute, but we got there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In fact, next time I speak to Andy, I'll pass that comment. Yeah. And Henry the Hoover McCluskey.
Henry.
Oh, dearie dear. Absolutely amazing. Right, listen, Jezzer, I'm going to have to make a move because I've got another call I need to make. I've got
Yeah,
some
sure.
going on and everything. But can I just say, absolutely amazing for you to come forward. And I know we had a technical glitch originally, but we got there.
Yes.
And you've been amazing. You've been absolutely fantastic to talk to.
And you. Thanks for having me.
No, look out for us again. And at some stage we may do another interview with Andy. We may put a request out for some questions. So I know
Yeah.
you follow me on YouTube anyway, so you'll see information, things like that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant to have had you with us, Jezzer. Fantastic.
Thank you. It's been great.
And
Okay.
everybody out there that's been watching on YouTube and over on Facebook, thanks for joining us. Thanks, Jackie, for joining us and the other people. Subscribe to my channel down below if you want to. All the rest of it. And I will archive this up on the OMD website that I administer. So I'll let you, Jezzer, say goodbye in your own words, and we'll end the stream then. Okay.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone, and see you soon.